Most welcome to another exciting review of the 5 a.m. Club by Robin Sharma. So we're looking at chapter 6, titled A Flight to Peak Productivity, Virtuosity and Undefeatability. Steve Jobs says, your time is limited, so don't waste it living someone else's life. Don't be trapped by dogma, which is living with the results of other people's opinions, other people's thinking. Don't let the noise of others, don't let the noise of others' opinions drown out your own inner voice. And most important, have the courage to follow your heart and intuition. They somehow already know what you truly want to become. That is from Steve Jobs, right? So be true to yourself. Follow your heart, follow your intuition. It doesn't matter the noise that is going on in the world. Be true to your own self. You know what you want, right? Use your heart, use your head, use everything you want to use to make sure that you fulfill your own purpose. So how do we get into the flight or onto the flight to peak productivity? How do you get to do what the top 5% of highly productive people do that the 95% of people are not willing to do? That is the thing. Everybody can talk, but when it gets to doing, when it gets to action, how many people are really doing the talk? Not many people. And I really hope that we can be among the top 5% of highly productive people who are doing those things that are not easy, who are taking on discomfort positions just so that they can be extraordinary, they can be legendary in life. The story still continues about the homeless man, the artist, and the entrepreneur. Remember in the previous chapter, chapter 5, the homeless man told the artist and the entrepreneur that they should be in front of the conference hall by 5 a.m. the next morning. So by 5 a.m., the entrepreneur and the artist showed up. It wasn't easy for them. They were not used to waking up that early. They were there just shortly before 5 a.m. And when they got there, they started murmuring that, so it looks like this homeless man had played them. He wasn't going to show up. They were saying all kinds of things. They even said he was probably at the seminar because he needed a place to rest for a few hours. Maybe he probably knew about the 5 a.m. club morning routine because he heard it, or he stole it somewhere, or he just heard it from the spellbinder, and that all the private plane and the riches and the wealth that thank you, and the wealth that he talked about were all part of his favorite hallucination, right? That it was all a lie. He was just trying to deceive them. And before they knew it, a Rolls Royce pulled up and the driver came out, took their luggage, put their luggage in the car. And they were like, where's that derelict? Such a derogatory word. The driver couldn't help laughing. But then he quickly regained his composure and he said, so sorry, sir, Mr. Riley dresses in very unassuming attire. He does that when he feels the need to get gritty, as he classifies the practice. He leads a remarkably exclusive life most of the time and is a man accustomed to getting anything he wants. Everything he wants to be more precise. So once in a while, he does things to ensure that his modesty and humility remain in check. That's part of the quirky charm, about Mr. Riley. And then the driver pulled out 2 envelopes made of the highest quality paper. He handed each one to the entrepreneur and the artist. Let me read what it says. It was a note from Mr. Riley. Now, we know that the name of the homeless man is Mr. Riley. Mr. Riley says, hey, cats, hope you're awesome. I didn't mean to spook you both yesterday. I just needed to keep my boots on the ground. Epictetus, one of my favorite philosophers, wrote, but neither a bull nor a noble-spirited man comes to be what he is all at once. He must undertake hard winter training and prepare himself and not propel himself rashly into what is not appropriate to him. Voluntary discomfort, whether by dressing as I did or by fasting once a week, or by sleeping on the floor once a month keeps me strong, disciplined, and focused on the central few priorities my life's built around. Anywho, have a tremendous flight, and I'll see you in paradise soon. Big hug. So, Mr. Riley dressing as a homeless man was a way of keeping himself in check so that he doesn't get carried away by his own riches. He doesn't become proud. So he puts himself in that deliberate discomfort. He's intentional about it, just so that he remains focused, disciplined, and he doesn't allow everything that he owns to get into his head. And the driver told them that please remember that appearances can be misleading and clothing doesn't convey one's character. Yesterday you met a great man. Looks really do not reveal the quality of a person. That is just the truth. Yoruba people will say, Ashonla kole yonla. Because the person is dressed gorgeously does not mean he's a great man, does not mean he's rich or he's wealthy. So don't look down on anybody. Some people can be so unassuming. They don't look like what you want to see. That is why in the previous book that we read, the author says, treat everybody the way they are. Treat them just because they are human beings, not for what they have or what they don't have. Just treat everybody as human beings, that's all. So that you don't miss out on great opportunities because you are trying to judge people by their appearances. And they were curious at this time. Who is truly this Mr. Riley? Tell us about him. And the driver said he is one of the wealthiest people in the world. He made his fortune many years ago. He owns businesses. But then he wouldn't tell the name of Mr. Riley's business because Mr. Riley would not be happy that he's disclosing all his information to the artist and the entrepreneur. But of course, he hinted that he was a great man. He was very, very wealthy, one of the wealthiest people in the world. At this point, they started to feel special. The entrepreneur and the artist, they were thankful that they took such a bold step, that they decided to just trust their instincts and go to this island that Mr. Riley was talking about. They were really thankful. The driver told them that he is worth multiple billions of dollars. He has given most of his money to charity. Mr. Riley is the most fascinating, generous, and compassionate person that I know. He also has incredible willpower, along with having ironclad values, such as honesty, empathy, integrity, and loyalty. He was a man who would keep his promises. He's, in short, an awesome man, a fantastic man. He had values that he held on to very tightly. And once they got there, they got to the airport, they saw the writing that says 5AC, and they asked, what does this mean? And he said it means the 5 a.m. club. So that is the topmost slogan of Mr. Riley, the 5 a.m. club. Own your morning, elevate your life. It was one of his maxims, and he conducted his business with this understanding. The 5 a.m. club, you must wake up early. You must do what other people are not willing to do. You must rise up before the sun. By the time people are waking up, you have achieved so much before noon or by noon. You have done so much that most people would do in a week. So Mr. Riley was a highly disciplined man. By the time they knew they were at the airport, a plane was ready to pick them up. They were treated like a queen and a king. They felt so relaxed, so easy. They were offered all kinds of drinks, all kinds of food on the plane. And before they knew it, they were in Mauritius. Another car was waiting to pick them up. On the way, one of the drivers that picked them was telling them that while he was in secondary school, he was told this story, the story that teaches us to keep our promises. He was told the story that a man fell asleep at the foot of a mountain, and while he was sleeping, some fairies and angels were dancing all about him. And these fairies and angels told him, this experience that you have had, don't tell anybody. But then the man promised that he wasn't going to tell anybody. But just like many of us, he did not keep his promise. He was so delighted that he went round telling everybody, even though they had warned him that if you tell anybody of this experience, you're going to turn to a stone. But he couldn't keep his mouth shut. He couldn't keep his own promise. He went around telling everybody, and what happened? He became a stone. He was turned into a stone. So the story teaches us that there is honor in keeping your promise. It is integrity. Do what you say. Just like Mr. Riley, it is one of his biggest secrets. I'm from Nigeria. Yeah. Okay, they got to Mauritius. Mauritius is a beautiful place. I've not been there, but yeah, I lived in a country close to Mauritius. So I've met with some people from Mauritius. It's a beautiful place, experience a beautiful life. And while they were going, the final car that would take them to Mr. Riley's house, they were handed a metal, like a tablet. And on that tablet were 5 statements, 5 rules in short. Rule 1 says, I want us to listen attentively at this point. Rule 1 says, an addiction to distraction is the end of your creative production. Empire makers and history creators take 1 hour for themselves before dawn in the serenity that lies beyond the clutches of complexity to prepare themselves for a world-class day. Rule 2 says, excuses breed no genius. Just because you haven't installed the early rising habits before doesn't mean you can't do it now. Release your rationalizations and remember that small daily improvements, when done consistently over time, lead to stunning results. Rule 3 says, all change is hard at first, messy in the middle, and gorgeous at the end. Everything you now find easy, you first found difficult. With consistent practice, getting up with the sun will become your new normal and automatic. Rule 4 says, to have the results the top 5% of producers have, you must start doing what 95% of people are unwilling to do. And you start to live like this. As you start to live like this, the majority will call you crazy. Remember that being labeled a freak is the price of greatness. And Rule 5 says, when you feel like surrendering, continue. Triumph loves the relentless. Be persistent. Keep going. Nobody ever promised that it is going to be easy. We look at people who are so successful. We think that they are having it easy. Oh, they must be having a smooth ride. It is not true. Some of them are pushing through pain, through sweat, through discomfort. And you should do the same too. Right. As they read this, they got to the island where they were going to meet Mr. Riley. Finally, they were there. It was a beautiful place. They were met by beautiful people, messengers, gardeners. It was, in short, a beautiful sight. And they felt this sense of fresh air. They were thankful that they made that. And they said finally they were going to see their host. They were so thankful that they trusted their God and agreed to this wonderful escapade. And now they are beginning to see that, well, maybe they are not beginning to see. They've seen it before, but they had their doubts that the homeless man was a good man. You know, look at the way he treated them. To this all expense paid trip where they would change their lives, where they would learn the 5 a.m. morning routine. But then, finally, they thought they were seeing Mr. Riley. There was a man facing the ocean. He was tall. He was looking good from behind. And as they went closer to him, they were shouting, Mr. Riley, Mr. Riley. There was no response. They even tapped him like 3 times on the shoulder. And by the time this man turned around, guess who? It was the spellbinder. They were shocked. How come? Has the spellbinder been the homeless man all along? We are going to find out as we continue tomorrow. We're going to be reviewing chapter 7 tomorrow. Preparation for a transformation begins in paradise. Now they're in paradise. So what's the connection between Mr. Riley and the spellbinder? We're going to find out tomorrow. Make sure you don't miss tomorrow's review. Don't forget to like this video, share your comments with me, and please subscribe to this channel in case you are yet to subscribe. I remain Olaide Agbaje, also known as First Lady, and on this channel, I inspire you to live intentionally. See you tomorrow. Be intentional. Bye.